Welcome to Garden Delights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Cooperative Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. Today we're going to talk about cabbage, and we're also going to hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, and he's going to be talking about nuisance wildlife. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Today we're going to be talking about cabbage, and you know I love cabbage, and the good thing is it can grow in the wintertime, and then this early spring you can plant it again. And so what can I say? Cabbage all year round. Cabbage is so low in sodium. This is kind of like a medium-sized cabbage. A cup of it's like 22 calories. So you can see a cabbage is very low in calories. So let's talk about as far as this nutrition part of it. It's low in calorie, know that, but we also know it's saturated fat-free, it's cholesterol-free, it's sodium, very low in sodium, it's very high in vitamin C and vitamin K, so we know we're going to get a lot of nutrients from it. Now, as far as selecting your cabbage, if you're going to the grocery store, you do want to pick it up, look at it, make sure it feels heavy, the leaves, everything are firm, because that's what you're looking for. Same thing when you pick it out of your garden. You want to make sure that that head of cabbage and that all bunch of leaves, that when you pick it, feel it. Make sure it feels like it's heavy, it's got compact leaves, because that's what you're looking for when you're buying cabbage. Now, as far as storage, the good thing is this head of cabbage will store in your refrigerator for about 7 days. But if you cut it and you want to use it for whatever you're going to cook with, it'll store for about 2 days. So the best thing to do is once you buy it, if you don't know for sure what you're going to cook with it after 2 days, don't cut it up until you know. One thing it will do, if you decide that you want to cook it, maybe stir fry it or whatever, and then you want to freeze it, it will freeze also. But just keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. About 7 days is what you're looking at. And hopefully by then, before those 7 days are up, you know exactly what you're going to do with that cabbage. When we come back, we'll hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent. He's going to talk about nuisance wildlife, and then I'm going to be cooking something up with the cabbage.
Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about nuisance wildlife. I get quite a few calls about nuisance wildlife. Henry's become kind of an urban place. We have a lot of people that have never encountered any wildlife, so we get all kinds of calls about a fox just walked through my yard, what should I do? Those kind of things. And so we spend a lot of time statistically, about 10% of the calls that come into this office are wildlife related, nuisance wildlife. And during drought seasons, about 30% of that 10% is on armadillos. We get a lot of armadillo calls. But today, we've got Kaitlin Goode with us from the Department of Natural Resources. She's the Urban Wildlife Program Manager. And I'm going to let Kaitlin, she's got a new program they're working on here that includes Henry County. And I'm just going to kind of let her tell us a little bit about that program.
Sure. So like you said, it's a new program that we're starting, and it is just for the metro Atlanta area to work with people in urban and suburban environments, help manage the wildlife in their neighborhoods and minimize the conflicts that they have with them.
Okay. And I guess you guys get lots of calls.
We do get lots of calls, and right now, you know, the calls go to our region offices and they get transferred to us if it's one of the metro counties, and we do as much as we can with people over the phone to give them the tools to solve the problem themselves. And when that can't happen, we go out and we do site visits and help people in person, because the metro area is very big with lots of people and we have limited resources. So about a third of our calls generate a site visit, but we do try and give people as much information over the phone as we can.
Okay, and that's kind of the way we are. We talk to a lot of people on the phone, but then we have to go. I remember one time I got a call from the newspaper, and there was a lady in McDonough who had a rattlesnake, and the newspaper didn't want to go see the rattlesnake without me going with them. So we rode over there, and the lady was a photographer, and the snake had actually escaped when we got there, but she had the prettiest picture of a juvenile rat snake that you've ever seen. You know, in order for there to be a conflict, you got to have some wildlife that's caused some damage. You got to identify what the wildlife is. And then the third thing that's got to happen is somebody's got to care. So a lot of people, they got squirrels in their yard, and the squirrels are messing with the bird feeders and doing all that kind of stuff, but they don't care. So that doesn't generate a call. But then you got somebody else that the squirrel comes in the yard. It's a panic situation, and so you have to handle them all, you know, with a lot of respect. Same thing with deer. We get a lot of calls about deer.
Absolutely, yeah. Either damage or fear associated with different wildlife in neighborhoods, and it really comes down to two things, right? What's attracting that wildlife to your yard? And it's going to be food, water, or shelter. So those are the three things that'll bring wildlife into your yard. Right. And garbage, pet food, bird seed, landscaping are probably our biggest culprits of attractants.
Yeah. A lot of people feed animals on their back porch. Mm-hmm. I know my wife does a little bit of work with trapping feral cats and that sort of thing, and getting them spayed and neutered and trying to clean up some of that. But I go out with my camera where the people are feeding on their back porch or whatever, and when I retrieve my camera, you know, I can count, there's 3 raccoons and 2 possums, and coming up to that food. So they need to think about what they're doing and don't just leave it out there all the time. Raccoons and possums, of course, you know, raccoons are carriers of rabies, but generally just a raccoon is no big deal. Possums are no big deal. And they attract this stuff to their house by leaving out their pet food, bird seed. And
Wildlife don't know that the food's not for them.
that's right. This is a pretty neat place. So those are, and I'm interested in doing more with this program because Henry is included in that, and we do have quite a traffic of phone calls that come in about nuisance wildlife.
And probably growing population too. It's just going to keep increasing.
So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, and we'll get more information going on this as we go along, but I thought it'd be interesting for our audience to know that the Department of Natural Resources is working on nuisance wildlife issues in the metro Atlanta area.
GeorgiaWildlife.com is our website. You can get all the information there.
And so now we're going to go see what Susan's fixing in the kitchen.
Welcome back to Garden Delights. Well, you can see I've already cut the cabbage in half, and I've already washed it, and we'll talk about the cabbage in just a little bit. But I do want to make something on the recipe first, and this is called cabbage with lime dressing. So I want to kind of mix the lime dressing up first because I want it to kind of sit before I do mix it around the cabbage. So that's what I'm going to do first. So what I have here is about a half a cup of olive oil, and this is about 3 tablespoons of lime juice, and so I'm going to add that to there because I want to go ahead and mix this up. And then also you're going to add a little bit of cumin, and this to me is just going to spice it up, make it a little bit spicy, and so I'm going to go ahead and add it to the lime and the olive oil. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and whisk this together, and I just want it to get it to where the lemon juice, the oil have mixed together, and it's really neat. When they do mix together, they really become out really nice, creamy look, and that's what I want. So I just want to get that kind of together so it tastes really, really good when I put it on the cabbage. So I have that where I want it now. So the next step I'm going to do is the cabbage. And in the recipe, it's going to ask for about a cup of shredded purple cabbage, and I've already done that. So that's about a cup. And this just makes really colorful dish. The cabbage, this is about a medium one, like I said earlier. So in order to make sure you have it washed, you want to make sure you take the outer leaves out. You make sure it looks really good. And I've washed it, and I've also took the core out, because you do want to take the core out. So I did cut that part out, because you don't want that tough part in your salad. So first I'm going to use my food processor, but if you don't have a food processor, this is the next best way to grate that cabbage. And it takes a little bit longer, but I am going to use my food processor because it doesn't take long at all to do that. So what you do need to do is you've got to make sure that that cabbage that you're going to use will fit down in that part of it, because I'm just going to push it through. So I'm going to make sure that I cut it into nice wedges. And you may not need all this whole cabbage, which is fine. So like I said, you can store the rest of it and make something else. But I'm going to try to get about 2 cups of cabbage. And I will say this, sometimes the outer leaves, if they're if they're not as firm as the other part, sometimes I will leave that out. So I'm going to see if I've got this where I can stick it down in there. And I may have to split it up a little bit, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to push it down in there. I'm going to use my little push, and I'm just going to push cabbage, and it goes really fast. Doesn't take long. And I'm just eyeing it again just to make sure I get about my 2 cups, and I'm getting close. So I'm going to do just a little bit more, not much. Add that little wedge in there. Okay, let's see what I got. And I'm going to really try to make sure this doesn't go everywhere, and I'm going to flip this as fast as I can, because some of this I'm going to use. I'm going to pull this out real quick, and I'm going to try to scrape some of that in the bowl that I'll end up mixing everything in. So that's about 2 cups. Let's see if I can clean up a little bit here. I'm going to take this out, and I'm still going to take this big piece out, but I'm going to use every bit that I have. And that was a medium cabbage. So just think about the size you have and what you want to make. And if you are trying to do it, you know, for a large group, you could also double this recipe easily. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this in there. And I love the way this looks because it's really fine, easy to taste. Now this was also done in the food processor too, and the red cabbage, and it also did really well too. I'm trying to put this back together just to give me a little bit of space here. There we go. All right, I'm going to move this to the side and move my cutting board. Okay, so let's put this together. What we're going to do is we got this cabbage here, which is the regular green cabbage. Then I'm going to add about a cup of the purple cabbage to the other cabbage. Let's see if I can grab my spoon real quick. All right, we're going to do that. And to me, it already looks just really, really, really pretty. So I'm going to mix this because I do want to kind of mix it as I go, because I don't want it all in one side. I don't want it all at the top. I don't want it all at the bottom. So I do want to kind of mix it as I go. And then the recipe is going to also tell you to add some carrots. And this is about 1 to 2 carrots shredded. So I'm going to add it, which is going to add some even more color to it. So I have this. And to me, this is already nice. And I will tell you this, you know, when you have cabbage and it's really in season, this is a great way to make a salad. It's a great way to add to a top of a dish to give a little crunch. So just remember that when you're thinking about something to eat, something low calorie, the cabbage is a great way to do it. This is about 2 tablespoons of cilantro I'm going to add. And I'm also going to add about 1 to 2 onions. These are the green onions. I'm going to add those. See if I can get some stacks here going, so I can clean up my mess a little bit, hopefully. All right, so I'm going to mix this up. And it's already looking really, really pretty, and it smells really, really good. And it's not a lot of onion. If you don't like onion, you can, leave it out. But it's not a whole lot. It's just going to give a little nice taste to it. Cilantro, I like it, and it's just going to give it that taste to me. Lime and cilantro go really well together. So that is mixed up now. So what I want to do now is I want to take my dressing, which I'm going to take my, let's see, where did I put my whisk is what I'm looking for. There we go. I am going to whisk this a little bit more just to make sure it's really well. And what I do want to do is I want to sprinkle just a little bit of pepper on it. So when I toss it, it also gets in there also. So I'm just going to do a little bit of pepper to give it that little extra little spice to it also. So I have this mixed up, and I really want to make sure that cumin is really mixed up with that lime juice and the olive oil. And so what I want to do is I'm going to pour this on top, and I'm going to work it into the slaw. And now that's the reason why it's called slaw with lime dressing. So I'm going to keep mixing it in, and I really want to make sure I get every drop out of here. And this just kind of coats it. So to spunk this up, I've kind of even added a little twist to it. So this is my lime dressing for my coleslaw. And it smells really good, and it's really coating it really nice. The other thing that you can do to make this a meal, which I'm going to do today, is I have also ground a pound of turkey up and put some taco season on it, and I've got some low-fat cheese that I'm also going to have. So what I'm going to do is have a bowl with my coleslaw. Then I'm going to add a little bit of meat and then a little bit of cheese. And this is going to be a great meal. It's going to taste really good, and it's going to be really, really crunchy. So I think I have this mixed up really well. And it looks really good, smells really good. When we come back, Frank and I will be tasting this, so we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Frank, we have a really tasty coleslaw with lime dressing.
This looks really good.
And it smells really good, doesn't it?
Colorful, too.
It is. It's very, very colorful. So let me tell you, it's a little twist to this little recipe. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of the cabbage salad.
Okay.
And then we're going to add, to spunk it up, to make you feel like you have a total meal, I'm going to add a little bit of ground turkey to it. And this has like a taco season to it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of cheese, which this is a low-fat cheese. And the good thing about cheese is when you shred it like this, you don't feel like you're eating as much, so the calories are not going to be as bad. So there you go. You can go ahead and start, and I'm going to fix me one up.
This looks really good.
It is really tasty, and it's just a great way to start off eating some cabbage, and I'm just dying to try it.
It's good.
That is really good. You know, I put a little cumin in it, a little lime juice, and a little olive oil, but really, it just kind of blends really well with the coleslaw.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good. I'm going to have to really finish that one, Frank.
Yep, that's good. You know, we had Kaitlin Goode from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. We talked about a new program they got in the metro area, including Henry County. The DNR's putting more resources into following up on nuisance wildlife claims from homeowners, so that'll be good.
Yeah, and I need to keep them out of my garden so I can have good cabbage, right?
That's right.
That's exactly right. Check the website for the recipe. I know you're going to love it. It is so tasty, it's so colorful, and Frank and I will see you next time on Garden of Lights.
Okay, I'm eating.
I am too.